Barakata Yahweh, Barakata Yahushai, Ba'ishem Rakah Kodash, Barakatum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh Ba'ishem Yahushai. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone who ruled and teach well. And peace and salutations to Ya'akim out there pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the brother Raya with another video. I'm going to start it off with Revelation chapter 12, verse 12. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. And that devil is referring to Esau Edom, the so-called Caucasian, more specifically the elites of these Edomites, such as the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the DuPonts, the Gettys, you name it. These elites are more scared than you think, Akim. They can clearly see that everything we've been prophesying about for the longest time is beginning to come to pass, such as these earthquakes in diverse places, these coming pestilences and famines, these uproars of the people across the planet, the seditions among men against their kings and princes or government officials, and Israel waking up in mass numbers and coming back to their power, Yahweh Ba'ishem Yahushai. That agent Vocab Malone recently did a live stream talking about how 2 million people in America identify as Hebrew Israelites and that another 8 million sympathize with the Hebrew Israelite ideology. These elites understand that when Israel comes back to their power and starts calling on that name, Yahweh Ba'ishem Yahushai, that whatever nation's ruling at the time is going to come to an end. And they also know that they're Edomites, and they know the fate of Esau Edom, 1,000 years of hardcore bondage and slavery before their permanent eradication. So that's why they're scrambling together all their plans to quickly bring about their new world order. That's why you're seeing all these new policies come to YouTube, which is going to further lead into the famine of the word by taking all our videos off that platform. And eventually they're going to come after the men of the Lord on the highways and byways. And another example of the powers that be coming after the Israelites and beginning their demonization campaign is a news article that recently came out talking about how a member in IUIC who was on the police force was let go from his department and is being investigated for being a part of a black nationalist hate group because he was seen on a video with IUIC. And not just are these higher up Edomites scared, even these lower level Edomites are scared as well. That's why you're seeing all these so-called Christians come out of the woodworks, coming up to the camps and trying to debunk this truth and escape their judgment. But it's too late. This word has gone to the ends of the earth, so that's why you're seeing this end manifest. And not just are these Edomites getting prepared to come against the men of the Lord, they're also preparing to come against Yahushai HaMashiach, whom the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ himself. That's why you're seeing Trump talking about a space force, France also talking about building up their space capabilities. And as we'll see from this article on activistpost.com, NATO's preparing to expand their space operations as well. And the title of this article is NATO to Make Outer Space Next Operational Domain. And this just goes to show the pride and the foolishness of these Edomites. They think that they're going to go against the power of the universe and defeat him, when he was the one who created you and gave you the knowledge to make all this technology. Back in Revelation chapter 12, I'm going to jump to verse 7. And there was war in heaven, and this heaven isn't referring to the spirit realm where the Most High dwells, because you have 3 heavens. The first heaven, which is the regular sky, the second heaven, which is space, and the third heaven, which is the spirit world. This heaven is the first heaven and a little bit of the second heaven, more specifically low orbit space. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and that dragon is the last leg of the fourth beast, Esau Edom's power structure, the reincarnated Roman Empire, which is the NATO-EU alliance, which the US is a part of. And the dragon fought and his angels, and the angels of the dragon is this space force, these fighter jets, and whatever other weapons Esau Edom comes out with to fight against the Most High. We're going to see Esau Edom pull out all the stops and bring out some really science fiction looking hardware to fight against Yahushai and keep his judgment from coming to pass. As it says back in Revelation chapter 12, verse 12, the devil is come down in great wrath because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. But as it says in verse 8, and prevailed not, neither was their place found any more in heaven. You're going to fail utterly. It's going to be like shooting crabs in a barrel. As I said a little bit earlier, you Edomites are foolish in thinking that you can fight against the power that created you and gave you the knowledge to create this technology. But all in all, it's just Yahweh by Hashem Yahushai building up your pride like ancient Pharaoh, so your fall will be that much harder and show the true power of Yahweh by Hashem Yahushai, that there's no other and that you're just ants compared to him. Let's get back to this article. So much for the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, though we might note that when it previously bombed Belgrade, assisted in the occupation of Afghanistan, and toppled Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi, any sense or concern for overstepping its mandate or mission creep was clearly lost altogether. As if seeking expansion into Eastern Europe, the Balkans, and potentially the Caucasus were not enough, now the Cold War military alliance is eyeing expansion into space. That war in heaven. This is the focus of the following new report, not in The Onion, but in Bloomberg, which is a prestigious publication showing the seriousness of this information, entitled, NATO is poised to expand its remit to include outer space, which introduces NATO intends to make space an operational domain, along with air, land, sea, and cyber, according to Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg. Slovakia. The move to be approved at a meeting of NATO foreign ministers on Wednesday would bring all 5 areas within the scope of the alliance's collective defense commitment and comes as member countries seek to address fresh internal politics. Stoltenberg described to reporters on Tuesday, space is of great importance for our civilian societies and for any military operation. And this whole program is just a military operation. They got to tell you it's for civilian use to not get you people worried. And described space expansion as essential, saying further, it's about communications, it's about navigation, it's about data imagery. Space is essential for almost everything we do. Space is essential to create our system, to fight against Yahushai, Michael, the angels, and the chariots. So now Article 5 will be invoked to defend a NATO member's claims to a chunk of the moon or Mars. Again, the NATO chief didn't just describe the prospect as an interesting project or avenue for future potential, but as essential. NATO ministers have over the past year been discussing an overarching future space policy, so it's nothing new. However, the suggestion that it's now essential to the mission might come as a surprise to member states. I'm going to skip around this part right here. Again, Stoltenberg's new space comments suggest an alliance in desperate search of new missions on new frontiers. The devil is come down in great wrath because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. More via Bloomberg. We need more European efforts on defense, but not as an alternative, not as something that is replacing NATO, Stoltenberg said. He called NATO's plan to integrate space into the alliance's operations a defensive step, saying it would be a clear sign that we continue to strengthen our deterrence and defense. Though, as the report notes, Stoltenberg said NATO has no intention of putting weapons in space, which is all BS. I did a video a couple of months ago showing how France is building up its space force and is talking about putting machine guns and other weapons on satellites. But how else will NATO theoretically exercise deterrence and defense in outer space? That's pretty much it with this article. But as you can see, these are truly beautiful times we're living in, Akim. We're seeing these prophecies come to pass right before our eyes. We're living in the times that kings and prophets and other great men wish to see. We know that Esau, Edom's going to fight against the Most High and fail, and that we already have the victory. We just have to hold up our end of the bargain. We can't get weak knowing that the persecution of the men of the Lord and Israel in general is coming. We got to stay strong and push this word as hard as we can to make our calling and election sure and to be saved from this coming hour of temptation, the mandatory implementation of the mark of the beast, that microchip implant. But now I'm going to get into some more precepts showing the folly of Esau, Edom, and that you're going to fail miserably when you go against Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. And there's nothing you can do to stop your fate from coming to pass. This is Obadiah. I'm going to start at verse 1. The vision of Obadiah, thus saith the Lord Yahweh concerning Edom, you so-called Caucasians. We have heard a rumor from Yahweh, and an ambassador is sent among the heathen. Arise ye, and let us rise up against her in battle. Behold, I have made thee small among the heathen. Thou art greatly despised. The pride of thine heart, or your mind, hath deceived thee. I'm going to create a space force to fight against the powers that created me. Thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock, whose habitation is high, and this is referring to you Edomites being the king of the hill, so to speak. You're the top power on the planet right now. You're the border of wickedness in Malachi 1 verse 4. You're the wicked in Job 9 and 24, whom the earth has been given into the hands of for this little season of your final rulership, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? You Edomites think that your houses shall endure forever. You're coming in the spirit of ancient Pharaoh. Moses and Aaron went to Pharaoh to tell him to let Israel go, but Pharaoh scoffed at their words and kept Israel and didn't believe the Most High or his men until it was too late, and the Most High dropped that hammer on him. And we're coming in that same stead as Moses and Aaron. We're going out there on the highways and byways preaching this word, as well as putting up video epistles like this to condemn you Edomites and tell you that you're going out of power. But what do? You scoff at the word. You tell us we're not the children of Israel. You're not letting us go. And you also think that you're going to be able to fight against the Most High and prevail with your Space Force and other technology. But everything's been written in stone. You're going to fail. Verse 4, though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and whose symbol has been the eagle all throughout history, you Edomites, from ancient Rome to Nazi Germany to the United States of America today, and though thou set thy nest among the stars with your Space Force, your satellites, your low-orbit space stations, thence will I bring thee down, saith Yahweh, by an invincible angelic force, Yahushai HaMashiach, whom the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. This is Isaiah 47 verse 3. Thy nakedness shall be uncovered. Yeah, thy shame shall be seen. I will take vengeance. I will not meet thee as a man. Yahushai returning as that angelic force. In the past, you were able to spit on him, mock him, and crucify him, but this time you won't even be able to touch him. The only thing you'll be able to do is sit there and take that judgment that he's bringing to you, and it's going to be a sore and grievous judgment. This is Isaiah 63. I'm going to read verse 1 through 4. Who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garments from Basra? This that is glorious in his apparel, traveling in the greatness of his strength. I that speak in righteousness, mighty to save. I shall not meet thee as a man. Wherefore art thou red in thine apparel, and thy garments like him that treadeth in the wine fat? I have trodden the winepress alone, and of the people there was none with me. For I will tread them in mine anger, and trample them in my fury, and their blood shall be sprinkled upon my garments, and I will stain all my raiment. This blood on his garments is symbolic for the mass death and destruction that Yahushua is going to bring to you Edomites, especially you American Edomites. When Yahushua returns, America, which is biblically known as Babylon the Great, as well as spiritual Egypt, is going to be wiped off the map. It's going to be hit with 200 million nuclear missiles, as well as the laser beams from the chariot of the Most High, which is going to turn it into the biblical lake of fire from sea to shining sea, and then a desolate wasteland afterwards. Verse 4, for the day of vengeance is in mine heart, and the year of my redeemed is come, and the day of vengeance is right around the corner, and the year of his redeemed is close. We're almost there, Akim. We just got to hold on to make that calling and election sure so we can be of that redeemed and be the first fruits of the kingdom. Now I'm going to close it out in 2nd Esdras chapter 13. I'm going to start at verse 6. But I beheld, and lo, he had graved himself a great mountain and flew up upon it, this massive chariot, this fathership that Yahushua is going to return in. But I would have seen the region or place whereout the hill was graven, and I could not. This chariot was so massive that Esdras couldn't see the end of it. And after this I beheld, and lo, all they which were gathered together to subdue him were sore afraid, and yet durst fight. These heathen nations down in the valley of Jehoshaphat, or that Middle Eastern region during the War of Armageddon, especially the dragon and his angels, NATO and the U.S., and where it says they were sore afraid and yet durst fight, you heathens down there are going to be afraid to fight against this angelic force when you see it, but the Most High is going to put the Spirit on you to fight, just so he can make mincemeat of you and show his power. Verse 8, and lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude that came, he neither lifted up his hand, nor held sword, nor any instrument of war, but only I saw that he sent out of his mouth, as it had been, a blast of fire, and out of his lips a flaming breath, and out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempests that concentrated heat, those so-called laser beams from the chariot, the war in heaven, when Yahushua, Michael, and his angels fought against the dragon and his angels, and the dragon and his angels prevailed not. And they were all mixed together, the blast of fire, the flaming breath, and the great tempest, and fell with violence upon the multitude which was prepared to fight. This space force, these fighter jets, these tanks on the ground, these infantry soldiers, etc., and burned them up, every one, so that upon a sudden of an innumerable multitude, nothing was to be perceived, but only dust and smell of smoke. When I saw this, I was afraid. When you heathens get hit by this concentrated heat, nothing's going to be left but powder, dust, and the smell of smoke. If you're in the valley of Jehoshaphat when this takes place, you better come to terms with that being your final resting place. A perfect example is that movie War of the Worlds, when those tripods, which are symbolic for the chariots, hit those people with their laser beams. What did they turn into? Powder. So with this video, I hope you sincere Akim are edified. Just keep strong and keep pushing this word. We're almost out of this final wicked captivity of the heathens, chiefly Esau, Edom. And as for you Edomites, especially you elites, it's judgment time. And as always, I'm going to say Abba Ball, Kwam Yasharala. Till next time, Shalom.